I'm back after a very important robocall. I cherish the memory. Okay, we are back. Now this happens several times. This is the first. And although I haven't written it down, maybe I should. 1-4-5 would be my preferred fingering here. Some others would prefer 3, but for me 4 gives me more space on the top of my hand, so my hand can actually be more passive. Here I am on 3, 4, and 3 there. So, whoa! But tilt the hand toward the black note. In case you're keeping score, I have finally hand numbered all of the measures, so I'm at 136, going to the scale at 138, which is followed 2 measures later by a 3-4. We are in 5 sharps here, so. Aside from the first note, which is an exception note, and in fact what I often will do when there is a pattern that has a good simple label, but there's a note, like a non-harmonic note, for example, in a chord, I'll put it in parentheses to indicate that that doesn't take priority in terms of identification. So it's an E, but then there is no more. It's an F, but then there are no more Fs. So looks, sounds, feels an awful like a B major scale. So. Or a G sharp minor harmonic, natural minor. Considering where it goes, it's a G sharp natural minor. So what I can do is write G sharp natural minor. That way I don't have to fuss about it ever again. I can look at the F and say, oh, you're an exception. Look at the rest of it. It's the only thing that works. He alternates between single notes and octaves, but not consistently. So first the downbeat, then the octave, then alternating octaves, and the next downbeat gets an octave for added emphasis. My explanation has been that you get an emphasis on both downbeats. One with the 16th note triller and accent, alternating, and then the octave. And every offbeat is an octave too. Okay. To a fresh alert. I need to follow my own fingering instructions. Okay. I already know what the next step will be because each one of these figures, like these descending scales, goes to the same place. Well, no, this next one goes to somewhere different. So it will be my ability to differentiate between those several forks in the road that will give me extra fluency throughout the passage. Otherwise, it'll be a question of playing one phrase confidently, full tilt, and then having a complete disaster at the end, or having a complete blank at the end. I will need to be able to say with some aplomb, okay, here's this ending, that's the next ending. Or as in defining when it's single notes and when it's octaves, that kind of thing. Because he uses this figure a lot. Let's see how many times, just for fun. Okay, so after 127, which is when the 5 sharps start, third measure, and then at measure 143, and then again at measure 150. Okay, so it happens 3 times. The first time, it does that. The second time, goes up to the scale, and the third time, well, it happens 4 times. Third time, at 143, does that, and the fourth time, it does like the second time, but it continues in scale fashion. And so that's where we are now. So okay, so this I don't know. That's not right at all, because it's 5 sharps. Now, and this looks as if the left hand should take it, because Prokofiev seems to indicates stem directions for hands, but in this case it's silly. So that wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. So I'm marking it for the right hand. In fact, I'm going to encourage my immediate visual reaction to the score by writing RH for right hand to ensure and then the rondo theme reappears in its original pitch, A minor, but an octave lower. So let's see. Well, it's fun. It should have gone to G sharp, because it's G sharp minor. But he just says, we're going to end on A and we'll be back in A minor. As simple as that. Regel, and then question is, how do I remember A sharp? So the A sharp is imitating the A sharp in the right hand. Obvious because well, actually it's not, because the accent is on the downbeat. sharp in the right hand is on the second beat. So the imitation is actually of the descending scale. First on E, then on A sharp. Fifth finger. Ooh, A sharp. Bit of a diminuendo. Practicing transitions is, for me, the key to developing long-term fluency, because it's far too easy to practice obvious sections and then have those sections stand intact and be good, but not be connected. So very often the transitions don't have a sufficient identity on their own for you to understand what's going on, and that's important to be able to do that. So, here we go. Very smooth. That wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. Okay, this would be a sectionally okay ending to seal the deal. It's a fermata on a measure, on a bar line, so everything stops. And we're going to go into an andante version of the opening theme, opening motive of the opening movement. But the page turn, I must say, was just distracting enough for me that I need to do something about it. I need to dial up this particular place in my other score so I can practice this without concern about the page turn. If I can find an appropriate connection between the two versions, because they're not paginated the same way. Too bad for me. So when I have the D sharp in the bass, that happens for 2 measures. Then I have it for 3 measures. This figure, D sharp minor figure, is extended by 1 measure as well. Goes to C. Thought I had gone 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. But 1, 2, 3 is more of a standard way of being able to turn to the lower octave. So let me try this from the A theme. 2 measures. Nothing to alter that fingering. I take it back. Rather than going 3, 4, 5, I've shifted my hand to 1, and I have the proof here. I wrote it down. It's just a little safer, even though it involves more motion, but then it's doubly significant when I go back up to the C, because it's much easier to get up to the thumb to pivot around the thumb, 1 to 1. So that's in measure end of 175 going into 176. So. Doesn't do me any good to write third finger on A in that descending arpeggio that I talked about if I haven't written second finger on E. If I had, on C rather. If I had written second finger, I wouldn't have had to write third finger. Because by the time I get to third finger, if I went third finger already, it's silly. So, make your marks relevant is the lesson learned, okay. Immediately obvious. And then I have to shift my hand. So I'm going to explicitly write 3 on D because I'm in the wrong finger here. Now 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. Oops. Yeah. Even though I knew the right note, I'm going to write it anyway. E down there. So it's back up this away. Oh, I could feel the fear, you know. In other words, I felt really comfortable, but I didn't have the instructions firmly in the front of my consciousness to tell myself what to do in my left hand right there. So look ahead and think ahead. Ah, that's the C. That means the circle. That's very interesting. Psychologically very interesting. Kind of. So. Yes. I could feel it right away. So I'm going to reinforce that. 3 of these. 2.5 of these. Go to the C. Oh, too much hubris. Yes. Once more that. One more time. Okay, I'm on to the andante. 185. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. For now, I haven't been sold myself on whatever this tempo might be. It's just slower, and certainly not the tempo of the opening movement, in spite of the motive. That's better articulation. And my left hand needs a second finger because there's going to be movement from E to F. So I would not normally think of that unless I were thinking ahead. this time, I don't have a whole lot of choice of the fingering for my left hand because of the number of fingers that are already involved. 1/4 then moves to 1/5. Not a big deal, but slightly uncomfortable. 5/4, 5/4. Off. That works for the right hand. 5 to 1. 1. There is an explicit finger substitution in here. I've had to do it already, but the powers that be have indicated so. Let me see if it's in. Yep, just what I suspected. Sources are the same. Shift. So, an interesting thing here is it's so easy to take this kind of passage for granted. That would be a dangerous mistake. You know, you cannot say, oh, I'll put all my energy into all the fast stuff or the energetic stuff or, depending on your sense of comfort, the hard stuff. This is in many ways harder to make persuasive, to understand the nature of, to have it add up emotionally, musically, and physically, which means to be able to control the colors and the balance and things like that. But in any event, there's a lot of A minoriness. It certainly is strongly emphasizing the tonality here. That figure recurs numerous times, and then the other. Third time in the right hand. So basically the third time is, well actually it's, the second time it's doubled. The third time the right hand takes it, but takes it in the same register where the left hand used to sing it, and then the right hand moves upward. Same, particularly this really characteristic, what we'll call B minor, B diminished chords. Actually, several diminished outlines. This one, and then B major. Okay, so when it does this. The third time. that figure happens at least 4 times in a row. Let's see. 5 times in a row. The first, if we're just looking at this chromaticism, it starts on this G, on measure 204 in the right hand. Then he does it again. Then the same line occurs in the right hand, but it's somewhat masked by the counterpoint, but it's identical underneath or within. Also mirrored, doubled at the third. Let's see how exact that is. Changing intervals here. Ooh, we're going from C flat. No, I take it back. The left hand is doubling. It's in a different clef. Sorry. Okay, so it's just doubled. And then the right hand brings in the A motive from the first movement. And the left hand extends that. Plays it in octaves, but in a different key. Let me see about the angelic relationship. It's all chromatic, so it's an exact duplicate in a different key. The left hand does it again, only. But sort of a disintegration because it doesn't turn back. The last one. And it turns diatonic to get back down. Okay, so he reuses that almost like a ground bass, even though it's not always in the bass. So from 204. Then it's doubled. Different key. Left hand again. Now the two are combined. Okay. In other words, if you can find the logic in it, it's much easier than if it's arbitrary in some fashion. I'm not at all comfortable with my right hand fingering here as it climbs. We're aided in our search for comfort by the slurs that Prokofiev adds. Because he links certain notes together and then you're able to move. So the slur can stay unbroken. Oh, here's a funny example of one of those impossible things he has. He has a middle E, which is much closer to the middle of the piano, of course, than middle C is, because it's the actual middle is the crack between E and F. So the only way to hold that E for a half note is to move your hand and pedal it. But if you pedal it and leave the G flat and the F on the same pedal, it's mud. So you can't do that. And if you do a sostenuto pedal on the E, well, you're holding it upper E, that's not a big deal. You're also holding the G sharp. So it accomplishes nothing. Said another way, what Prokofiev has written is not possible and not helpful. Okay. I think even though he was a wonderful composer, all composers need to constantly sit down with the instrumentalists who will be playing their music and ask, is this practical? Is this possible? Is this reasonable? And this is one of those things where you have to say, oh, well, it's unreasonable. So I end up having to choose between mud or clarity. I can have the E this long, which he wanted. So I'm just going to fill in that half note and turn it into a quarter note. Funny thing. Okay. So my fingering alterations involve mostly putting thumbs at the ends of little motives to get me ready for my next hand position. So here I don't need to. But what I'm doing here is instead of 1, 3, 2, for example, I'm going 1, 3, 1, then I go 2, 5, and then 1, which sets me up for this. So 1, I'm going to go 2, 4 on that little third, so 2, 4, 1. I'm going to go 3 on the single C on 218, give me 4, 1. Notice, or I'm noticing, this is fingerings that I didn't put down before when I came through here either 2 days ago or, well, 2 days ago. This is the first time I worked on this. I was busily fingering passages that wouldn't work at all without a decent fingering, fast passages that needed agility and ease. This is the sort of thing where you can get by with so many different fingerings that the risk is you will choose one that's slightly cumbersome, that makes it less easy to understand the groupings or the gestures or the sense of placement on the keyboard. So it's very helpful when you're trying to make what I'll call fluency or polishing decisions that make it possible for you to feel really connected to the material. It becomes very important even in slow passages, or perhaps especially in slow passages, to have a clear sense of what your physical solution is going to be, what you're going to trust that enables you to express yourself with the maximum sense of ease. So, I didn't even write it, but I'm going to write it 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1 again, and 1 last time. So, let's see. Barely looked at my left hand because I had reminded myself what will avoid distracting me from the right hand is knowing that it's chromatic. It stays chromatic literally till E, because there's 2 white notes there. But from F, it's just all white notes. So that's something I have to file away. Right now I'm not looking at the left at all. Here's the F. Feel confidence in the execution. It makes a big difference. I'm going to go back to 204, where this figure starts. Well, similarly speaking, I have an arbitrariness of fingering in my left hand. That's okay. This. 3 on the third. Here's where it gets difficult. If I just do 2-5 on the white note 6th in 207, then I have no way of getting to the next string, so I need 2 thumbs in a row. So the best finger language I can create is between 3 and 5, but not between 1 and 1. I'm writing fingerings that sometimes are obvious. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5. 1, 3, 5 on this middle chord. That gets me, leaves me 2 free, and I can get back up to the octave on 1. So. I don't want to be overthinking this issue, but I am feeling more comfortable just by feeling more conscious. I'm going to go 1, 3 on this fourth so that I have 2 and 4 available. Pretty good. I'm going to put 2 on B flat because I like 2 on black notes. 2 again, 2 again. Yep. Okay, you could hear as it happens. 1, 1, 1, 2. So I have to be hyper aware of how it feels. The direction in which I'm traveling. When I go to this augmented chord, everything has to come in. The bass comes up, the thumb goes down. I have to be aware of that sensation. It's an example of something where the left hand may be doubling the right hand, and the right hand may sound more apparent, but the left hand needs so much more of my attention than the right does. Now it does. There it is. Oh, I didn't do what I said I would. Excellent. I don't know. Prokofiev has done an interesting thing here, and I don't know if he meant it or if he didn't mean it. The first of these first theme motives has a slur on it. The subsequent ones do not. Poor me. I can't decide what that means because I'm stuck. My quandary is that it could work both ways. You know? Beginning of the piece, it's all non-legato. And why would he just have one legato? It's one of those things where you wish you had the composer there to ask and say, what did you mean? He does write espressivo, but he writes it for the left hand. Should have all been, well, a little swell, but it's too loud. This is all piano. A little opening, and a return. That's so forth. Okay, that makes me happy. So, we move this over here. Finger substitute from 5 to 1. Help get me ready for my ascending arpeggio, A major. And that actually is a forte. So the arpeggio is some of the juiciness. Two notes of the bass, F sharp, C sharp, and 227. Hold. I wrote a bad fingering. Here's what Prokofiev has written. In the top voice, soprano voice, eighth, quarter, eighth, and then tie. The lower voice, excuse me. He's written an extra voice. This is, yeah, he ends up with three voices. He starts with two, and it's hard to see them. There is a voice that goes, and then there's a voice that comes in imitation. So, what I have to do is keep track of what's supposed to hold. Admittedly, we've discovered lots of instances when Prokofiev is unclear, but it was wartime. He had a lot of things on his mind. There's three notes sounding. Eighth one, two notes again, then one of them holds, one of those holds, the middle voice, middle note, the B flat, and the bottom two change. So I had written 4-2 here, which was just great, except for the fact that it completely violated the integrity of the held D. So I can't do what I wrote because I hadn't noticed that detail. I had just been going, yippee! What I'm going to do is go to 3-1, replace it with 5-3. Let go of the one of the B. That's what I'm going to do. The last moment I'm going to let go of the one. And then my 4 on C sharp will be changed to 5 for comfort. A lot more sophisticated than what I wrote down initially, because it needs to be. Boy, does that ever leave us uncertain, because with this let's see if there's an A. That's F sharp minor 7th. That's our ending for this section. I like it. And then the A theme comes in F sharp minor. Okay, let's see if we have time. I think I'll take a break because we got to Vivace 229. It's a good demarcation point.